Mayor, you're arresting kids for marijuana and they're all minorities. His answer, yeah, that's true. Why? Why is it true? Because we put all the cops in minority neighborhoods, all of them, because that's where all the crime is. You can't even make this up. And then it's, he's saying I'm embarrassed by stop and frisk. I mean, Warren, calling, quote, women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. Jeez. Bloomberg saying, all right, he's not going to release women from confidentiality agreements. Why didn't he have a better answer prepared for that? Okay, what about it may hurt innocent people? How's that are associated with this? And that was a legal deal that was struck, and that's it. But just defensive on every point. Warren calls on Bloomberg to drop out. Take your ego out of this. Ouch. He said that after the debate, warning that he's going to drop another $100 million to erase America's memory of what happened last night on that debate stage. Even had, what does the POTUS call Chuck Todd, sleepy eyes. Mayor Bloomberg, should you exist? I mean, you can't make it up. Buttigieg, let's put forward someone who's an actual Democrat. People of South Bend hate this guy. I haven't released my taxes, says Bloomberg. I can't go to TurboTax. Bloomberg, I don't think there's any chance that Sanders beats Trump. Wow, Sanders, cheap shot for Bloomberg to call him a communist. All happened on stage last night. Sanders, to Bloomberg, the best-known socialist in the country is a millionaire who owns 3 houses. That was actually his best line of the night. And Bernie Sanders suggesting we only have 7 years to stop global warming. And my policy is I'm going to raise taxes, going to have a wealth tax. We're going to confiscate pretty much everything. And if you make over this amount of money, it's illegal. You're going to give us everything you get. And we're going to get rid of oil and gas as well, the lifeblood of the world's economy. It is unbelievable. And Buttigieg and Klobuchar going at it. I mean, the only one that came alive a little bit was, he's collapsing. This might be good. Was Joe Biden. He seemed to get animated for a few minutes in the thing. But it's the Titanic meeting the iceberg. I mean, that's what the media is calling this. Over there at MSDNC, they tore the skin off of him. Van Jones, billion-dollar machine Titanic, Gloria Borger. Bloomberg's best moments were probably when he was quiet. Candidates savaged each other like boxers fighting at the Roman Colosseum. These are liberals commenting about their candidates. Instead laughing at Bloomberg over fake news CNN only having one positive debate moment. And MSDNC, well, they're not attacking Bernie. Great night for Donald Trump. Everyone concludes a great night for Trump. And then Trump's numbers come out from Gallup. 49-48. First time he's above water since he was sworn in. Then confidence that the country's headed in the right direction has now doubled since Trump became president. Those are going to be hard numbers to beat. Watching the veteran being, what a moment that was, being carried to a seat last night. As Democrats are ripping each other apart, the president is solving problems. Oh, and then he also signs a bill that will develop and deliver water to farmers in the Central Valley. It's a story we covered, 10 years ago. Thank God, finally, we're going to help the farmers out. Wouldn't give them water to protect a little minnow fish called the Delta smelt. If you've not switched yet to Pure Talk USA, you are paying way too much for your cell service. And if you're thinking the low cost means you're going to get less, think again. There's no contract, and you get a 1-month risk-free guarantee. You've got nothing to lose. You're going to get 50% off your first month when you call now. Use your cell and just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. Take out your cell, hit pound 250, and say save now. Then you'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dial text from Pure Talk USA.
Senator Warren, you've been critical of Mayor Bloomberg on this issue.
Yes, I have. And I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some women. That just doesn't cut it. The mayor has to stand on his record. And what we need to know is exactly what's lurking out there. He has gotten some number of women, dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is
Let me
that?
finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me put, there's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them. They signed those agreements, and we'll live with it.
So wait, when you say it is up to, I just want to be clear. Some is how many? And when you say they signed them and they wanted them, if they wish now to speak out and tell their side of the story about what it is they allege, that's now okay with you? You're releasing them on television tonight?
Senator? No. Is
that right?
Senator, the company and somebody else, in this case, a man or a woman, or could be more than that, they decided when they made an agreement they wanted to keep it quiet for everybody's interest. They signed the agreements, and that's what we're going to live with.
I'm sorry. No, the question is, are the women bound by being muzzled by you? And you could release them from that immediately, because understand, this is not just a question of the mayor's character. This is also a question about electability. We are not going to beat Donald Trump with a man who has who knows how many non-disclosure agreements and the drip, drip, drip of stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against. That's not what we do as Democrats.
Let's get something straight here. It's easy. All the mayor has to do is say, you are released from the non-disclosure agreement. Period. We talk about transparency here. This guy got himself in trouble, maybe saying that he couldn't disclose what he did. He went to his company.
Just to be super clear, that was about the list of clients.
No. I know what you mean. No, you're right. But he went to the company and said, I want to be released. I want to be able to do it. Look, this is about transparency from the very beginning. Whether it's your health record, whether it's your taxes, whether you have cases against you, whether or not people have signed non-disclosure agreements. You think the women, in fact, were ready to say, I don't want anybody to know about what you did to me? That's not how it works. The way it works is they say, look, this is what you did to me, and the mayor comes along and his attorney say, I will give you this amount of money if you promise you'll never say anything. That's how it works.
Mayor Bloomberg, final word to you.
I said we're not going to get to end these agreements because they were made consensually, and they have every right to expect that they will stay private.
If they want to release it, they should be able to release themselves.
Can I add a word to this?
Say yes.
All right, hour two, Sean Hannity Show. I mean, that's just a small sampling of the beatdown. I mean, you look at the headlines, even Bloomberg had to admit, yeah, Trump was the big winner last night. You got liberal pundits pounding Bloomberg's disastrous performance. They hit him on everything. Politico saying this is a debate prep of monumental failure proportions. Daily Beast, liberal as they are, Bloomberg got his ass kicked. Van Jones comparing Bloomberg's debate performance to the Titanic. You know, Chris Matthews saying that Bloomberg was like the prize fighter who couldn't stop the bleeding, and he didn't have a cut man in the corner. Some even suggesting, I don't agree with this analysis, that Warren ended Bloomberg's campaign. I don't think so, because he has money. He's just going to try and buy his way through the entire process. You know, New York Post, Bloomberg campaign implodes on stage in this debate. Warren tortures Bloomberg on issues. Michael Bloomberg takes a beating from Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren at debate. Bloomberg in debate, Washington Examiner, billions of dollars, zero vision. Billionaire beatdown, Mini Mike savage by Democratic rivals in Nevada. That was the Free Beacon. Bloomberg now the highest spending presidential candidate of all time, which brings me to our next guest. Mark Simone is with us, the host of his morning show on our New York affiliate, WOR, and Jeffrey Lord, the author of Swamp Wars, Donald Trump and the New American Populism versus the Old Order. Mark happens to know Michael Bloomberg extremely well. I think we got a pretty good indication of the person. He has no personality, clearly not prepared for prime time, embarrassed at this debate. And the fact that he had all the time in the world to prepare for this thing is mind-numbing to me.
Well, Dan Quayle was a friend of mine, and he's no Dan Quayle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think not
By
only
the way, you're aging all of us because those in this audience that don't know what the hell you're talking about, that's really bad for us.
Well, I could have said Admiral Stockdale, but I think
Exactly. Why am I here?
Not only did he wipe out the campaign, I think he hurt his business here. Who would buy a terminal from this guy after this? This was all this talk that he's the one that can stand up to Trump. He got pounded into the ground by Elizabeth Warren. Forget Donald Trump. If it was he made Tom Steyer look like Reagan. Bring back Tom Steyer. He was better.
Wow. Steyer's got 16 points in the poll in South Carolina. That fascinated me a little bit, Mark.
And I don't think he can run these commercials again. The problem was these commercials with he rented a dog. He posed with a family. He had some borrowed clothes he wore to look like Bob Vila. The difference between these Hallmark card commercials and this bumbling, stammering klutz was like night and day. You can't run these commercials again because people saw the real him. They won't work anymore.
And this is where we've been, Jeffrey Lord. It's been a slick, expensive, at least $417 million to date marketing campaign, and yet he does no interviews. He does a disastrous first debate, and he's planning on coming in and I guess because I thought he brought Joe Biden back to life last night.
It is astonishing. I mean, just two simple points that he should have had ready to go when Elizabeth Warren launched on him was the whole Pocahontas routine. He should have gone after her from moment one for how she got her jobs at Harvard and using minorities and claiming to be a Native American, all of that kind of thing. And then when Joe Biden said what he said in that clip that you just played, what is Joe Biden saying to him? He's saying, Mike, you really need to have had a quid pro quo with these women. And Bloomberg should have jumped on him and gone the Hunter route. Instead, he more or less just stood there and took it and looked like an idiot.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. So what is the fallout from this? We're 257 days until Election Day, Mark Simone. Where do you see this going? Is this now Bernie's to lose? And a fascinating side note is nobody on that stage prefers the people that are voting to make the ultimate decision if this goes to a brokered convention.
Yeah, the problem is, Elizabeth Warren was brilliant as the prosecutor going after, but whoever does that role, like Kamala Harris did against Biden or Christie did against Rubio, they never seem to last. That doesn't get you to the top, so that's a problem for her. Buttigieg, I don't know. He looks. What did Tucker Carlson say? He looks like a corporate hologram from the AI department at Google.
Oh my gosh,
he's like the world's worst TED Talk. Amy Klobuchar.
By the way, I don't even know if everybody knows what TED Talk is, but I mean, that's such a great way to put it. I mean, it's so funny.
Amy Klobuchar, like the soccer mom, but I don't know if that's what we're looking for here. Bernie, he's got one thing going for him. He's the only authentic guy on the stage. I mean, what he is terrible, but at least it's authentic.
Does Bernie, to me, it's Bernie's to lose. I mean, he's got a pretty healthy lead in Nevada, and I got to imagine he'll be very competitive in South Carolina. South Carolina seems to be the firewall for Joe Biden at this point, Jeffrey Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. The real problem, and I think you're right about Bernie, I think he is on the cusp of pulling ahead for good if he wins a couple more primaries. The real problem they have there is this San Andreas fault running right through the middle of this party. If Bernie Sanders wins, there's going to be all kinds of people that say, that's it, I'm sitting on my hands. If somebody else wins, who is not Bernie Sanders, who's from the quote-unquote moderate wing, you're going to get that reaction in spades in reverse. They're going to see this as a moment to revolutionize the party, and the way they'll start is by defeating their own nominee. So they've got a real problem on their hands, and of course that makes Donald Trump the winner.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
The problem with Bloomberg, people say, well, the next debate will be – the next debate is a week or 10 days away. You can't get that much better. It's impossible. And they'll just hit him with new things. He's got a pretty choppy record. There's some really bad stuff in his record as mayor of New York. They'll start hitting him with that. He screwed up the 911 system. He screwed up the payroll system. He was a disaster with education. You can go on and on with these things.
Now, Bloomberg. I only met him really one time. I went out. At his request, he invited me to lunch. And I sat there and I said, "You're the most boring." I'm thinking to myself, "The most boring human being on earth." And I'm like, I even met Governor Cuomo once. Yeah. At least he was interesting.
All these, even Mayor de Blasio now, who's the crazy left-wing mayor. I mean,
I kind of, love debating him. He wouldn't answer a question, Mark, but I kind of I kept saying, well, does every New Yorker have the right to protect themselves in their home? You got armed guards. Should they have the right? They have a right to be safe. I didn't ask you that. Do they have a right to have a firearm in their apartment?